Good morning and welcome to Monday Morning H3 TV, where we navigate disruption with hope, health, and happiness. Today, I'm greeting you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I flew in last night. One of the greatest privileges of life, I think, is being able to show up for our friends and family as they navigate disruption. And I have always felt called to that. And it seems the more I speak on disruption and challenges, the more I feel called to bring just a little bit of hope or health or happiness into the lives of those that are hurting as they navigate their disruptions. So last night I was able to fly into Minnesota and tomorrow to be with a friend as she says her final earthly goodbye to her spouse. Um, but it is always a privilege to be there for people, and it's also a privilege to come to you every week, whether it's into your home or into your office, and to bring you some encouragement, to bring you some wisdom, and some ideas on how do you strategize ways to stay hopeful, healthy, and happy when life is hard, because life can be hard. There's always interruptions, sometimes even ones we choose, and there's often disruptions, ones that we don't choose but that come at us. And how do we navigate those disruptions, challenges, changes in life? Storms, as I sometimes call them. And so today I have a guest with me that's going to share his wisdom on how he has navigated disruption. And I am so glad you're here with us. Just a reminder that if you have questions, comments, or thoughts, feel free to put them in the chat anytime while you're listening live or after the show. And we both will agree to respond to those and encourage you on your journey through disruption. Please help me welcome Happy to the stage. Good morning, Happy. How are you?
Happy morning. I'm on top of the world. I was good. I feel better after seeing you, Annie.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. So tell us, who are you? What do you do? Where do you live? All the good stuff.
Awesome, sure. So, if you knew me as a middle school student, Annie, you'd know a few things about me like math, science, karate, dance, music. I was good at none of them, but I was great at this one thing. And that was stealing chocolates and cupcakes and getting beaten in school. But things happened that changed my life. I was bullied very well. I was in an addiction at the age of 13, but things happened that changed my life. I run a TV show in the national television since then. As a teen inspirational speaker, I've spoken to students from 54 different countries. I run a business called Nectar Media where we help speakers build their online personal brand. But beyond all of this, there's one thing that has not changed, and that's my ability to steal chocolates and cupcakes from my mom's bakery. And I hope I never lose that skill. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. I also have this book called The Undercover Teacher that's about learning from the little things that happen in life and trying to see the world as a library and little things as inspiration out there. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, Annie.
No wonder I like you, Happy. For one thing, you're happy, which I feel like that's a choice and we get to decide every day. But second of all, you love chocolate and cupcakes. Like, this is you're speaking my language. People are like, you shouldn't eat sugar, Annie. I'm like, I like sugar. I have a relationship with sugar. Like, I didn't steal it, but at least it was from your mom's bakery. So hopefully you paid that off at some point. Um,
Correct.
so when I say the word disruption or I say the word storm or challenge, what comes to mind for you just as a general definition? What do you think of?
I see a phoenix. I see a phoenix. I see a phoenix. When I say that, I mean that we all have stuff that happened to us. We all have things that happen to us. We all have moments that ask us to get to the rock bottom. And we have moments where we get to the rock bottom. But that's where the beauty of choice comes in. And I think that's where disruption takes a birth. Just when that butterfly thought that life was over, it became the other way around. Um, I think the beauty of life comes through disruptions. Like you have an identity of yourself that you have held on for such a long time, and then you say, "Wait a minute, there's scope to change. I can be better. There's things that can be transformed." So, in a single word, I think when I think of the word disruption, I see a phoenix. The word closest to my heart when I hear disruption is transformation. And yeah, that's what I think about disruption. I want to disrupt further, and yeah.
Yeah. And you're so positive you're already on the other side of it. You're already at the Phoenix. I love that. I think of disruption as like sometimes it takes our breath away, right? Sometimes it like pulls a rug out from underneath us and makes us slow down and readjust. So is there a specific disruption you've gone through in your life that kind of was challenging before the Phoenix came? It was challenging.
you know One of the stories that I have to my heart that I look back, is the story of what I was as a teenager and how like my life changed. As I shared to you, when I was a school kid, a 13, 14-year-old kid, I was bullied every day in school. In fact, I had a name. My teachers used to call me the broken radio. For my friends, I would have moments I would stand up to speak, and I knew that if I did that after the class, I'd be beaten. With all of this happening, because I had no friends, I was into an addiction at the age of 13. With all of this happening, I don't want to come out here as a victim, because these are one of the best things that happened to me. They led to me being who I am right now. But the idea is that with all of these happening, there's this one bully of mine among all of them. His name was Sahil. He looked tall and fit like Tom Cruise, but he was a villain version of him. And what he used to do is that he used to make fun of me, beat me up and stuff. And there's this other day I was walking around the school corridor. Sahil comes out of nowhere and slaps me on my face. And as he slaps me on my face, I'm down on the ground, but I'm angry. I'm angry of why Sahil hits me this way all the time. And I roll my sleeves, I get my spectacles away, I get my hands ready, I'm ready to hit a fist right on his face. And just when that is happening, I put my arms over my eyes and I start crying. Sahil, why do you hit me all the time? And Sahil is a bully. He's like, because I want to. I get back to the classroom. It was the last period. I still remember, Annie. I take my water bottle. And that day I went to the washroom. I poured the entire water bottle over my head and I shouted, why me always? Why do I have to be the one getting beaten? Why do I have to be the one getting made fun of? Why do I have to have all these issues with my life? And I did not have an answer that day. I took my backpack. I went to the bus. 10 minutes from the bus to my house. It's not away. Felt like ages. I get back to my room. I shut it as hard as I can. I take a pillow, put it over my head. And I was crying out there, Annie. I was crying for an entire hour. And that's when my soulmate came to see me. It was my teacher. We have a culture of tuition teachers in this part of the world. And he used to come in and he used to help me with my lessons, my homework and stuff. And he saw me crying. He's like, why are you crying, Vabhav? And him like, and he's like, get whatever is in your mouth away and start speaking to me. And I shared to him that, Sai hit me again today. I'm not feeling good. I'm going to be a nobody, a complete failure. I have nothing coming ahead of me, Roshan sir. And the beautiful part is, even this guy, Roshan sir, my tuition teacher, he's like Tom Cruise. He's tall and fit. The good part is he's a hero. He's my hero. And that day, as I shared to him that I'm going to be a nobody, a complete failure, I have nothing coming ahead of me, he took me by my collars, put me right close this way, and he said me something that changed my life. He said, Wabhav, champions are not born but created. You're not what happens to you, but what you choose to become out of it. And that day I went back to the bus. I went back to the school the next day, Annie. I got down from my bus, and for the first time in my entire life, I saw my bully right in his eyes. Hey Sahil, you're out there, I'm right here. And he's annoyed. Why you see me? I'm like, because I want to, you know. And I said to him, and I remember the words, Annie. I said to him, remember what Newton's third law of motion is. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. You've been taking on me all this time. It's my turn now. I take my hands, I slap them as hard as I can. I'm feeling like I'm the guy who's invented three vaccines of COVID at the same time, and I'm on top of the world. I'm happy. I'm super pumped. And if you're there with me, 3 seconds from then, you would see that I kept running and Sahil kept chasing me until he caught me by my collars once again, beat me to the ground, and his saying was, now you know who you are, Vabhav. But this moment is no more a moment of tragedy to me. It's a moment of inspiration, because that day, even when I stood up after getting beaten, I remembered what Roshan had taught me, that champions are not born but created. You know, my story of disruption is simple. I thought I was a nobody. I thought I deserved to have nobody around me. I thought I had nothing going on with my life, but more importantly, I had no hope of anything coming ahead of me. But what changed my life is what Roshan sir told me, that champions are not born but created. And I think that's what disruption is about. That you're at the rock bottom and you think everything is shattered and you think that everything is done, and you choose to rise out like a phoenix because you can. because you deserve to, you know. And fast forward, since then I have been in a mission to help students become the champions, you know. And I spoke to students across the world. That's what I do with my TV show, and now with my business that's helping speakers. I'm doing it at a scale because the message that they deliver reaches the people around the world, that reaches the students in a way and helps them in their journey of becoming a champion. So yeah, that's my little story of Annie, of disruption. Annie, I'm sorry I took a little too long, but this is
You're
something to.
fine. You're fine. Thank you for sharing. I'm really sorry that you got beat up. I'm a little bit bummed that you went and tried to beat him up. No, not a good choice. But I love, such a part of my mission is that it only takes one person to see us, to encourage us to change our story, right, to rewrite. And I think so many people, I hate bullying so much, and luckily one of the gifts God has given me is I'm blind to when people are teasing and bullying me, and I think everyone likes me even when they don't, and I think that's a gift. But it breaks my heart. So I love that you're taking what was painful for you and really pouring into other young people that are potentially being bullied for any number of reasons. It's hard enough to be an adolescent, let alone to have someone bully you physically, mentally, emotionally. So I'm sorry you went through that. And I'm glad that you had an incredible hero teacher that came to you and spoke into you. I hope you continue to listen those words and remember, we never fight, we never win with our hand as the bully didn't. We always win with our words and with our rising above, right? And so what I want to know is when it was hard, when it was dark. I can imagine this wasn't the only time that it was challenging for you. It sounded like this naughty boy. I wonder what happened to his life. We'll maybe talk on that at the end. But is how did you stay hopeful? Because I always think that in the disruption or the bullying of life or of another human, it can feel very dark. It can be very hopeless, as you said. How did you find slivers of hope? Was there anything that you did in the morning or throughout the day to prepare yourself, um, to still believe that even if it was only a sliver, and maybe it was repeating what your teacher said, but how did you stay hopeful when it was really hard to go to school or to be face this bully that you faced in school?
And yeah, I think I'm at a point of my life where I have had, you know, things that happen to me, and there's so many things that might happen to me. And when I share this, it comes from a point of where I am right now. I think the easiest thing to do when we are at that hard spot, as easy as it might sound, and what I did is, there are moments in our life where it's hard for us to believe in ourselves. You know, there are moments that we are beaten, so freaking beaten down, that we think we are nobody, that we have nothing coming ahead of us, you know. And I think the worst thing that can happen to a person is they lose hope. Like, what do you wake up to, you know? And I think the best thing to do at that moment, the easiest thing to do at that moment, is to believe in the person who dares to believe in you, you know. And I think that was what changed my life, and that continues to change my life. That I have people who believe in me, even though I might feel I can't do something, even though I might think I'm in the trenches of something. They know that I deserve to get out of it, and they know me, and they still believe I can do it. You know, and
Yeah,
I think that's the easiest thing to do, to believe in people who dare to believe in you.
yeah,
At this point of time, there might be things happening in your life. There might be things happening in all of our lives. You know, there must be certain things that you do every single day that prove you that your fears are a lie and that the truth is something way beyond. For me, it's waking up every day and taking a jog. And every single day, even if I wake up with no matter whatever thoughts there are out there, I know that when I'm going to take a run, I'm going to see the truth. You know, I know that every single day, even though I thought I was feeling a certain way, I chose to act contrary to it. I chose to act on the behalf of my goals. I chose to act on the behalf of who I am. So I'm proving to the universe, I'm proving to myself that wait a minute, you're a thought. The reality is what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is so much more powerful than what I'm thinking. I don't let those thoughts take over me, you know.
yeah.
So I think those are the two little pills that I take that is helpful to me. Number one, daring to believe in the people who believe in us. And number two, doing things every single day that we might think are difficult, and letting ourselves know, wait a minute, Vaibhav, wait a minute, Happy, you're so much more powerful than the lies that this fear is telling you.
Yeah. So keep believing, even when it's hard. Keep believing. And you're in sales, and I'm in sales, right? I mean, we're selling ourselves, we're selling our business. So there's a lot of rejection with that. So you work really hard to tell yourself, what I do matters and somebody needs it. And then you get a lot of no, thank you, no, thank you. And it's hard, right? So I love that you're saying, keep reminding yourself, you're right. People, we talk about, you can go a week without food, you can go 3 days without water, but how long can you go without hope? And there's so many hopeless people in the world. There's so many hurting people in the world, which is part of why I do this show. I love that you're saying, I don't, my mind might be negative, but I'm going to keep going. I know what I'm doing matters. And you're helping young people. You're helping young people not be bullied, see their worth more. There was something about me that I don't think is normal. There's a lot of not normal things about me, Happy, but I never thought, why me when bad things happen? In fact, I'm so
Mm.
weird that I would think, why me when good things happened? Because my self doubt was so large of thinking I don't deserve anything good, that it took a long time to think, hey, I have worked hard. I've earned this, or and not maybe not deserve even to this day. I don't think, but I think, oh my gosh, I'm being blessed because I get to bless other people. And so I know you're speaking to people out there that are thinking they are a nobody or they're worthless. And the truth is, we're all created with gifts, different gifts, and we need them all in the world. We need each other. We need our encouragement. We need to believe in the people that believe in you. I love that. How about healthy? Sometimes when we are feeling beaten down in a disruption, it's hard to take care of ourselves, hard to get enough sleep or to eat right or to think clearly about our mindset or about our faith or about our finances. You are a very young boy going through this. But today, what are some of the things as you look back? How did you keep going? And of course, going to school with the mom probably saying, you got to go to school whether you want to or not, right? But uh, how did you navigate your health through that disruption or through other
I
disruptions?
think all along, there were masks that I was wearing. You know, I was the easiest thing for me right now to come out here and say, Annie, is my life was all shambles and there was everything wrong with my life. I had no friends. That is a truth. I had a difficult time with the school. That is a truth. I had an addiction. That is a truth. But here's the beautiful part: I have an amazing family. You know, and I don't want to come out here as a victim. That everything. That's the easiest thing to do. I can get a lot of people to feel pity about me, but the truth is there were things that were wrong about my life, but I had an amazing family. And from the culture where I come from, food is something you don't negotiate on. You eat what is served to you in the table. Even letting go of the food you take in the plate is something that's not cool, right? And at that point of time, even though there was things that I used to face in school, I had a family that was amazing. Even though I did not share most of this stuff that was happening with me, they were out there supporting, and I knew they were out there supporting. So I never had that stuff happening. But even though recently I had some experiences, I did have disruptions with the food and stuff like that. I remember a very beautiful thing. And my thing is learning from random people. I was in Mississippi, specifically in Oxford in Mississippi, exactly 2 years ago. And there's this bus driver that I used to ride with often when I was over there. His name was Mr. Lee. And Mr. Lee, I used to talk to him every single day. Like rather than sitting, when I had to take a bus, I'd stand next to him and I'd talk to him about life. And he'd shared something really beautiful. What he had shared to me, Annie, is he'd shared that Wabhav, there are things that happen to you in life, but you got to build a wall. And what that wall means is, this is me, this is my periphery, nobody gets to enter this, right? I have all these things happening in the outside, that's okay, and all these people trying to break in, that's okay, but these are my walls. And I think that's what is important. Also, I think when it comes to the health part, sticking to certain things that you choose to do every single day. For me, that's waking up and taking a walk, taking a jog. I'll do it every single day. And that's how, I think the physical turns into mental, because you're doing something that you think is difficult and yet you're doing it. I know I have to take a mile of run every single day in the morning, if not in the morning, in the evening, or somehow that's something that's encouraging me. So yeah, that's my part about the health.
I love that. I love also, there's a book called The Noticer by Andy Andrews. He was a comedian first and then a speaker and a writer, but it's about noticing other people. And I call it the pineapple principle in my philosophy of like, pay attention and notice the people everyone else ignores, from the bus driver to the coffee shop to the grocery store, how everyone ignores that. And how blessed are you? You're reminding me too, perspective is everything. So some people will say they have a hard life, and then I'll start to talk to them. And I'm not saying they don't have elements of hard, but we do notice what we look for, right? And so, in addition to having these challenges, you were given this enormous gift of a beautiful family. And a lot of people don't have that gift, right? And it's so easy to take for granted what we do have. I grew up in a rather dysfunctional family. And so I didn't have always that security of safety of home. And I'm not saying one is greater than the other or worse than the other. I'm just saying that baseline of having family, even if everything else around you is you have this place to go and you had food, two things that I meet a lot of people as a person who also works with youth sometimes that don't have either. They don't have a home, they don't have food, they don't have a family. And so I love that you had them to have your back. And there is a beauty in building those walls. There's also a tragedy in that is that we learn to trust no one outside of our wall. Boundaries are healthy. And we have to decide. Like, I talk to my daughter about this a lot, like, are people good or bad? And I always say everybody's good, and she'll say, you know, that's not true. Why do you want to think that? But I would much rather go in to life believing the good in people. Unfortunately, though, when people break that trust with me, then I'm like, okay, now the wall is going up, right? I try to give them the benefit of the doubt and then build, because we only have so much capacity to be wounded, rejected, abused or bullied as you were, to the point of like, no, I can't do that and still be my best version and go out and pour into other teenagers. So I love that you have boundaries around moving your body every morning. You know, I always say movement is medicine. So whether it's a walk or a jog, starting your day with that fresh air, that movement is a beautiful thing. How did you find humor? So I always think laughter truly is the best medicine. I used to own gyms, and I think movement and laughter are great medicine for our body, our mind, our spirit. How did you find humor and happiness when it was super hard? So you said you had no friends. So you didn't even have one friend or ally. Did you have that with your family? Where did you go to find the humor, the happiness in the midst of the really hard and sad?
It was Roshan sir, the Tom Cruise, the good one. That was my source of happiness. The other thing is I loved writing. I love to be myself, and that thing, I think that's the other part of it. While all of that was happening, I got to spend time with myself, and when I was with myself, I got to be positive sometimes. I still have this habit of writing. I literally wrote diaries upon diaries, no matter when you'd call me Annie. I'd have this little pocket diary with me, and I'd
Mm.
write for hours and hours. I'd think about stuff. I'd think about like randomest of things and write about it. That's where my bliss came in from. For my laughter, I had Roshan, so I got to spend time with my family, and that was my source of laughter. Uh, but other than that, I had a good time being laughed upon. Yeah, but when I look back at it, of course, it was my family, and the other part of it was, of course, being with myself, being with Roshan sir, that I really, really enjoyed.
I love that. I love journaling too. As a coach, sometimes I'm helping people write their first book, and if they're journalers, I'll say, go back and read. And what lessons have you learned in life? Like, yes, there's a story. There's lots of stories in our life, but other people sometimes want to hear our story, but usually will not pay to hear our story unless our story has lessons that can help
Mhm.
their story. Right. And so as you look back through, that was a healing part. It was a place you could go and speak honestly and truthfully and release your thoughts, your pain, your whatever it was that you were going through. So unfortunately, Happy, and I wish this wasn't true, I know that people that are listening know someone that's being bullied. And I would like to say that bullying stops after adolescence. First, that it never exists. And second of all, that it stops after adolescence. But on a regular basis, I meet people that are being bullied in the workplace, bullied in their business. Oh, you'll never be a speaker. Oh, shoot, you shouldn't write a book. Nobody wants to read it. Oh, you'll never get that promotion. So, what sort of wisdom, encouragement, insight? You're a young man, but you're a smart man and you've had enough of life experience to give us some wisdom, whatever age we are. What wisdom do you have for somebody that is being bullied in their workplace, in their career, or by their family, even, or friends? What sort of encouragement do you have?
I think there's a very, very large beauty that comes in, and my this is what helped me, and this is what has helped so many students and teenagers that I've worked with in the past as well. It's simple. You change your league. And here's what I mean by that. And this might be something you can relate to when you're in a workplace. This might be something you might relate to when you are into a specific community. But when you're being bullied, you think that you this one person in this little box called a classroom, you know, and you think that's what the world is. It starts with you actually thinking that your desk partner is what your world is. The people around you, the few people around you are what the world is. And then you expand your mind and realize, wait a minute, it's not just these few benches around me that is the world, but maybe the entire classroom that I'm sitting on is a world. And then you expand your horizon to think, wait a minute, it's not just maybe this classroom, but the entire school maybe is what my world is. That's what my stage is. And then you think, wait a minute, it's not just this school, but maybe an entire city. Wait a minute, it's not just this city, but the state. It's not just the state, but this country. It's not just this city or country, but the entire world. The idea is when you zoom out, it brings so much of power, right? And here's what I mean by it. There's this kid who's getting bullied every single day and is getting bullied by a few people in this classroom who think you're worthless. And then you say, wait a minute, I don't belong to this classroom. I belong to this entire school. I don't belong to this school. I belong to this entire country. So I can do something at a national level. I can do something big. I don't belong just here. My identity, when I see that way, is no more dependent on the few people who bully me, but the entire world that is ahead of me. And that's where the power of choice comes in. When I was getting bullied, when I had all of these stuff happening, I used to write poems, right? And when I used to realize that, okay, my poems are not just for this little classroom, but for my school, for the entire community, the entire city that I live in. My my thoughts my thought horizon has expanded, because now when I'm performing in the city hall, I have so many more people looking at me, and those reference points have changed. So when you zoom out and when you change your reference point, every single thing changes. That's number one. Number two, you again zoom out to see 5 years down, 5 years before this, Annie, I was trying to learn how to ride a bike, you know. And the process of learning to ride a bike, my friend, he was sitting behind me and was riding the bike. And in a turn, I hit a lady. The lady literally took the slippers on her hand. I was like, why are you trying to, why are you trying to embarrass me in front of everybody? I was like, I'm just trying to learn to ride a bike. I'm no intention to hit you. And when I looked at that moment, it was the most embarrassing thing to get someone to show you slippers in the middle of the street, and especially when you're a young teenager trying to find your place into the world. But now when I look back at it, I laugh at it. It's one of my funniest stories. It's one of the stories I'm most cherished. I remember of me being in my teenage, right? And here's the beautiful part. When you zoom out in life, 3 years, 5 years down the line, what you're calling a tragedy, what you're calling an embarrassment, what you're calling as getting bullied and bitten is something you laugh at, because your life has changed. You've come so much further ahead. I think there's a beauty that comes in zooming out, and I encourage everyone to practice zooming out. See that you belong not to the few people, but there's this whole world that you belong to. And when you choose to make that difference, everything changes.
I love that. I think you're talking about perspective, and I like the visual of zoom out from where you are to how big it is. And, there's a lot of famous people. I wouldn't necessarily reference Tom Cruise, no offense, but he's kind of done some goofy things recently. So George Clooney's a better reference for you. There you go.
Oh,
Um, just because Tom's not always nice to his wife. So I don't always think that's a good
yeah.
representation.
Sorry, I
No
don't follow.
worry, no sorries, no sorries. You're good. And I'm sure he is famous many places. Um, I love the zoom out. I love the perspective. I always think when you have learned these lessons, go serve somewhere else. And so that's what I want to ask you next. I always think whenever I'm going through something hard, I think, don't think about Annie. Who can I serve? Who can I love? From it's one person in a bus, the bus driver, just to be kind to them and see them when other people just ignore them, to making a difference. So, how are you using Happy the lessons you've learned to serve other people? How do you do that?
There are two ways of it, Annie. One is, as a speaker myself, my message of helping teenagers is something that I think has been bringing impact. I get messages every once in a while of teenagers I've worked with long back ago, and okay, that changed my life, that helped me in a certain way. I've helped over 240,000 people through my videos, through my live interaction, through my seminars across 54 different countries. And that's what I'm grateful for. But the other thing also, Annie, is I loved what you shared, that how can this help others when I'm going through something, what I learned. And the most beautiful part is if I come out of it as a person who has went through something, I come out of that with a wisdom. And if I get to be who I am truly, that's the best gift I could give to the world. And that's what I think is the beauty of it, Annie. Now with my business, what I get to do is that I get to help speakers with their personal brand, with their message reaching people. I used to book all my gigs using these videos, and I get to help speakers with that now. But it comes to a point of that experience that happened in my life somehow that I don't realize the resilience, the tenacity that's reflecting in every little thing that I do today. So I think the most beautiful thing is if I get to be who I am truly with no masks on, with no layers on, I think that's something that helps the people beyond all the work, the seminars, the workshops, the trainings that I get to do in my life.
I like that. Show up authentically yourself. Be who you are. Bring your gifts. I just finished rereading Purpose Driven Life, and I love that book. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's about that we all have a purpose and we all have a call. And I don't have your call, and you don't have mine, and we don't have anyone else's. That we're each needed. Each of us needs to be. My nickname's Authentically Annie, and Do It Annie. So bring your authentic self with all your beautiful and messy parts to the world, and be a contributor. Give back. I love that you speak to teenagers, and that you share a piece of your story, and that you remind them that they have value even if someone else is bullying them. And bullying is just such a heartbreaking thing, and we know it deeply, deeply hurts vulnerable people. So do you have in your work as a speaker or as a business owner, do you have a success story of someone you've worked with, a young person that heard you speak, that reached out and maybe made a change, or a client that you worked with on your business to get their message out there more as a speaker, a success story in some way that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, there are quite a few of them, but one of them I really like is there's this, and I'm changing name for reference here, but there's this. Uh, I was doing a workshop for a Model United Nations session that was happening, and my session was about how to realize the champion within as a teenager. Right, I was doing this workshop. There were about 100 kids, not a very big audience at the moment, but there was this kid who was sitting in the sidelines out there. My session was about my story, about what I went through, how it changed my life, and how they can become champions, the three specific steps to take. And after the workshop, there's this kid who walks up to me. Let's call it Ron, right? Let's call him Ron. And Ron comes in and say, "This is one of the best things I've ever heard in my life." And I have stuff that happened to me, Vaibhav, and this is something that's really inspiring to me. And with all of the things that happened, the kid went on to start his own little NGO in the city. He used to help with environment friendly activities and stuff. The same kid who felt he was getting bullied and beaten in school, like I was in a way. He goes on to get a very prestigious scholarship to study in Japan, and then he gets a scholarship to study in the US, and then he goes on and on and on to impact people all around the world with his work around environment. And there's so many stories like that I get to hear, that I get to still create with my life ahead as a speaker. And that's, I think you would agree, Annie, the most beautiful gift that you can have as a speaker is to see your impact coming into fruition. And the other story comes in, of course, from the client perspective. There's this another speaker from Canada that we started working with. He was amazing with his work. He was amazing with his content and stuff like that. But he had no brand out there. He had his stuff, he had his videos recorded, he had podcasts he has come into, but of course, not tech savvy and stuff like that with a lot of people. We helped him craft his social media, we helped him craft his videos and stuff like that. His video ended up reaching more than 3 million people in the next 3 to 6 months. And that ended up helping him book gigs, that ended up bringing so many other opportunities to him. And his message got to reach more people. So that's another story that I'm proud of. But I'm excited more about the stories that I'm creating in the process. And yeah, I'm just grateful for it all.
That's awesome. So good. And just it feels so good to help other people, right? Like the people I'm actually starting college today. I'm going back to college myself online. So I'm hoping not to have any bullies. I don't think I will. But being a lifelong learner, right? And I'm always like, what else can I learn? What else can I do? What books can I write? What lessons can I learn so I can teach my audiences and through my written and spoken? And I love that you're like, just, you see these people, and I was thinking about that about you too. Like if you watch famous people, if you go whatever society considers famous, some of the most financially successful people, that's what I'll say. Many of them dealt with being left out, being called nerds, being bullied as young people. And I teach a purpose formula, and it's about how our pain plus our passion, our energy, our fuel can equal our purpose. It doesn't always equal our purpose, but if we choose to use it for good, like it ends up being a gift. I guess that's what I want to say is like what happened to you. I'm so sorry. Like I'm such a non-violent person. I can't imagine that people physically hit other people, but I know they do. But if you take that and you use it, that fuel, that anger, that frustration inside your body, and use it to help teens and to help business owners and to inspire people, like what a beautiful purpose in your life. And every day you get up and you know that life will still be hard. There will always be obstacles and challenges, but you don't want to be a victim. You're a victor over it. And you're like, hey, I'm going to live fully, and I'm going to use everything that hurt me as a child as fuel to serve other people, whether it's young people or adults, to be successful, especially the good and positive people in the world, to get their impact out there more through speaking, through writing, through talking. So I love that so much. Beautiful. I'm sure our listeners, we've had a lot of listeners on today. Remember, you can ask us any questions or comments throughout the presentation and beyond. We will definitely answer. But Happy, I know people are going to want to connect with you, hear more about your brilliant story, how you've taken something hard and made it something heroic and beautiful, that you're doing good in this world. And you're right. Our purpose is great. And it doesn't just impact our classroom or our workplace or whatever. It is big. It's the world that we have the invitation, especially with social media and the internet, to impact in a positive way every single day. So what is the best place to connect with you, Happy?
I'd love to connect with all of you over LinkedIn itself, or if you use any other platform, you could. But LinkedIn, you can just search me as Vaibhav Nahata. You wouldn't find me as Happy because that's a nickname I got when I was in Mississippi from a friend from Germany. But you can search me as Vaibhav Nahata, Vaibhavnahata, and you'll see me with this pose, and that's me.
Good definition. And definitely you can leave, your website or whatever in the link. So if people want to reach out and learn more about what you can do for them as speakers, with their social media, or if somebody needs encouragement as a parent of a child being bullied or a child being bullied. I know there's a lot of schools that I'm connected with that listen, and they're always looking for great speakers that can encourage and inspire people. So thank you so much for being with me today on H3 TV. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. Have an amazing week. Remember to stay hopeful, healthy, and happy through the disruption, because there will be a gift. It might take a long time to find it, but there will be a gift. And if you are in a good place in your life, my encouragement to you this Monday is look for someone who's not, and go be a little bit of hope to them. Go be a little bit of light on their path through their disruption and their challenge. Thanks for listening. Have an incredible week. Take care.
Thank you.